This is Mac OS Ken.
Entering the high-speed zone, 5 eyes in search of a backdoor, and a not great look for Spotify. It's Tuesday, the 13th of October, 2020. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by BetterHelp, online counseling that's there for you. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSCan. This show is also sponsored by SimpliSafe, the right way to protect your home. SimpliSafe's got everything you need to protect your home, with none of the drawbacks of traditional home security. No contracts, no high-pressure sales, no hidden fees, no installation crew. You do that yourself. Placing my sensors and keypad couldn't have been simpler. Just peel and stick the sensors exactly where you need them. No technician required. At the other end, professional monitoring keeps watch day and night, ready to send police, fire, or medical help if there's an emergency. All of that starting at $15 a month. Plus free shipping, plus free returns. There's even a 60-day money-back guarantee. U.S. News & World Report named it the best overall security of 2020. Why not check them out for yourself? Head to simplisafe.com/macOSCan and get a free HD camera for Mac OS Ken listeners. That's SIMPLI, simplisafe.com/macOSCan to make sure they know you heard it here. simplisafe.com/macOSCan. And a big thanks to SimpliSafe for sponsoring today's show. So the Apple watching sites exploded Monday with news that the Beats page on Apple's site was gone. And it was. And now it's back. But you know how explosions are. The first mention I caught was over on the Mac Observer. Early on Monday, that site said Beats products were still available on Apple's online store, but the page dedicated to them was gone. What's funny is it appears to have been gone for the whole weekend without any site covering Apple having noticed. According to TMO, Apple Terminal reported that a working version of the page was last archived by Wayback Machine on the 2nd of October. The screenshot for the 9th of October shows the page was unavailable. But it's back now. An update from Mac Rumors ran late in the day on Tuesday, saying the Beats by Dre landing page has returned to the store section of Apple's website. That was, of course, an update to the site's own story about the page's disappearance. And they went a bit deeper. After pointing out the Apple Terminal Wayback post, Mac Rumors said over the last couple of weeks, Mac Rumors has independently observed a gradual removal of all links to Beats' support website from Apple's own support pages. Apple also quietly retired its Beats Updater utility that lets users update the firmware of their Beats wireless headphones, earphones, and speakers. Mac Rumors goes on to say these moves all point to Apple readying itself for new product launches in the audio category. Rumors indicate Apple is working on several new audio products, including a smaller, lower-cost HomePod and high-end over-the-ear Apple-branded headphones that could be called AirPods Studio to be sold alongside the AirPods and AirPods Pro. Now, it might seem silly to lead with Beats talk rather than talk of new iPhones, and yet I'm inclined to do that because the Beats talk is surprising and fun. Conversely, surprise seems to have been smoked, choked, and beaten out of today's event where iPhone is concerned. For example, take the number of iPhone 12s expected to be announced. Over the past few weeks, everyone seems to have settled on 4 models headed the world's way, and now that seems to have been confirmed by Apple itself. Apple Insider says the Cupertino company has uploaded 4 iCloud device icons meant to represent the iPhone 12 lineup. According to the report, the icons in question are the same kind used on iCloud and elsewhere to depict a user's own Apple devices. On Monday, Twitter account at Apple SW Updates spotted that Apple uploaded 4 new icons identified as iPhone models iPhone 13,1 through iPhone 13,2. Lest you think Apple is skipping the number 12 for some reason, those are just asset names, not device names. A similar asset for iPhone SE uses an asset labeled iPhone 12,8 according to the piece, while one for iPhone 11 uses the label iPhone 12,1. Clear as mud. Hopefully to be made more clear later today. Adding nuance to a story I brought you yesterday. On Monday, I told you of an Apple Insider story that had TF International analyst Ming-Chi dropping his 2 cents on which anticipated iPhones he thinks Apple will sell and in what volume. Either he's offered a bit more color, or Apple Insider just wasn't interested in it. Mac Rumors says the thoughts presented by young MC reflect what appears to be Apple's thinking, not his. It's apparently his checks of the supply chain that have him calling for iPhone 12 to be the best seller, not simply his supposition. It's a subtle distinction, I know. Still, it strikes me as better that he shows his work, and that Mac Rumors shows him showing his work. According to Mac Rumors, Apple's estimated shipment allocations for the new iPhone models are as follows: 5.4-inch iPhone 12 mini, 20 to 25%, 6.1-inch iPhone 12, 40 to 45%, 6.1-inch iPhone 12 Pro, 15 to 20%, and 6.7-inch iPhone 12 Pro Max, 15 to 20%. Where he does seem to have gone off on his own is his disdain for the 12 mini. Even with a starting price below the other models, he indicates that smaller screen sizes are not popular worldwide, and that the anticipated mini phone will not meet the demand for a larger display. I shouldn't really say he's off on his own on that. He does have reams of data and years of experience to bolster his assertions. Of course, it may not matter anyway. Apple doesn't break out sales of individual models. Soon it'll move from young MCs guessing what's going to happen to sites like Mac Rumors trying to guess what is happening based on wait times for various orders, to firms like IDC guessing what did happen based on checks that never seemed terribly accurate when checked. Of course, we won't be able to check those due to Apple's lack of transparency, bringing it all down to dollars and sentiments. But it helps pass the time. Speaking of time, it is almost time for the thing. Unless you're receiving these words after the thing, in which case, hey, how was the thing? Apple's high-speed event is set for 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 7 a.m. in Hawaii, I think. Might as well stay up for that. Lots of ways to watch, the easiest being YouTube. Apple will stream the event on its channel there. Of course, there's Apple's own events page at apple.com/events. You can also watch it streamed through the Apple TV app. Shortly after the thing's done, Apple will make it available as a video podcast through Apple Podcasts. Twitters will tweet about it. Bloggers will blog about it. I'm going live on my YouTube channel to talk about it. I'll do that at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. youtube.com/kenray. In a few minutes starts again Wednesday, hitting the highs and lows. And of course, we will hit those in a more newsy fashion on Wednesday, right here. It seems like only paragraphs ago I kind of harshed on various market trackers and their guesses about Apple hardware sales. That's because back in the day when Apple gave out unit sales, the various market trackers tended to be wrong. Still, we talk about them, partly because everybody else does, and partly because they do indicate general sentiment. 3 firms out with Mac sales guesstimates for the recently ended September quarter. Mac Daily News ran a press release from Canalys that had third quarter Mac sales up a little over 13% versus the same quarter a year earlier. Mac Rumors had numbers from Gartner that also showed growth, though less of it. They say the Mac sales grew 7.3% year over year. Then make way for IDC. Cult of Mac has the firm saying that Mac sales grew 39% in the third quarter of calendar year 2020 versus the same quarter in 2019. Two things all of those have in common. They all see growth for the Mac, though in degrees that vary wildly, and they all agree on the reason: COVID-19 and all the working from home and schooling from home caused by it. And you say, why would you harsh on their guesses? A quick update about which to tell you. Well, telling you about it will be quick. When it comes to Apple's chronometer, updates tend to be anything but speedy. Mac Rumor says Apple hit Monday with watchOS 7.0.2. Bit of a bug hunter, this one, meant to fix the battery drain issue experienced by a number of Apple Watch wearers in recent days. Apple says the update also resolves an issue that prevented some users from accessing the ECG app in regions where it is available. Where it's supposed to be available anyway. More news in a moment, but first a word from BetterHelp, online counseling that's there for you. Finding a counselor can be tough, especially in these socially distancing times. The process is better with BetterHelp. You answer some questions about yourself, what issues you want to work on, as well as a few questions about the kind of counselor you want to work with. BetterHelp takes that info, then looks through the thousands of licensed professionals with which it works to find the right person for you. And if they're not the right person for you, BetterHelp makes it easy and free to change counselors. So many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. Voice, text, video, chat. This could be the help you're looking for in the manner most comfortable for you. If you need help, BetterHelp is there. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/macOSKen. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that is BetterHelp, HELP, betterhelp.com/macOSKen. One more time, it's betterhelp.com/macOSKen. And a big thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's show. The DOJ still believes in the magics. Apple Insider says the U.S. Department of Justice, in conjunction with the Five Eyes nations, is demanding tech companies put in a backdoor to consumer-level encryption that only works for the good guys. They say they want it for the sake of sexually exploited children. At least that's what they say this time. As for the ask, Apple Insider says the lengthy statement demands tech companies embed the safety of the public in system designs relating to encryption to enable companies to act against illegal content and activity effectively with no reduction to safety while enabling law enforcement to do its job. This includes enabling law enforcement officials access to content in a readable and usable format where an authorization is lawfully issued, is necessary and proportionate, and is subject to strong safeguards and oversight. Assuming that the various governments are the good guys in this scenario, assuming that they are holy and blameless, just and true, they're still asking for a backdoor where there isn't one. Once decidedly bad guys know there is a backdoor, it's just a matter of time before they break in. Why? Because a backdoor for good guys is a backdoor for bad guys too. Giving lip service to understanding that, the petitioners challenge the assertion that public safety cannot be protected without compromising privacy or cybersecurity. We strongly believe that approaches protecting each of these important values are possible and strive to work with industry to collaborate on mutually agreeable solutions. Tell you what, why don't you come with that solution? You're sure that can be done, despite tech companies and security experts and people who work in encryption telling you it can't be. Fine, show them how it's done. Don't just demand a backdoor, then say, you guys can take care of that, because they have, by not having a backdoor. Also, get to know the people at Celebrite, online at Celebrite.com. Math doesn't change just because you want it to. Even for magicians. The beacons of streaming fairness are pulling an interesting move. Mac Rumors says Spotify is blocking the service SongShift from doing what it does if Spotify doesn't like the way the shift is going. SongShift facilitates a subscriber's move from one streaming service to another. So let's say you've spent years on Deezer, saving favorites and building playlists, and you want to move over to Spotify. SongShift works to make that happen, to ease that transition. And Spotify is fine with that as long as people are moving to Spotify. If they're moving from Spotify, though, Spotify's not as cool. In fact, the streaming Goliath has threatened the song-shifting David, saying it has to remove the transferring playlists away from Spotify functionality or lose access to the Spotify API. SongShift has given the bad news to its users, saying in a post, "Unfortunately, as of SongShift version 5.1.2, you will no longer be able to create transfers from Spotify to another music service. We understand this will be a disappointment for a lot of you. We wish we didn't have to. The Spotify developer platform team reached out and let us know that we would need to remove transferring their service to a competing music service or have our API access revoked due to TOS violation." In fairness to Spotify, that rule is sort of written in the service's developer agreement. That says developers should not transfer Spotify content to another music service that competes with Spotify or the Spotify service. Congratulations, by the way. That playlist that you curated of music by Van Halen, The Doors, and the Spice Girls, yeah, that is Spotify content. I hope you're getting benefits. Spotify, a member of the Coalition for App Fairness, has complained to the EU a few times about how unfair Apple is to competitors. Addressing Spotify's apparent irony deficiency, Mac Rumors helpfully points out the move to actively prevent users from transferring away from Spotify, thereby constraining competition, seems peculiar, as the company has railed against Apple for supposedly doing the same. Keira Knightley won't be making her Apple debut anytime soon. Knightley had been set to star in and executive produce the period drama series The Essex Serpent. She will instead sit this one out. The Daily Mail out of the UK says that she has pulled out of the show due to concerns over childcare during the pandemic. Cutting it a bit fine, the show was apparently meant to start shooting in the next couple of months. It has now been put on hiatus, according to the report. And finally today, if you're one for a good documentary, there is a series of feature docs about which you should know. The Mac Observer says the entertainment news site Deadline is bringing its For the Love of Docs screening series online. This is only the second year for the series, with the first having played last year to physical audiences in LA. Last year, the films ran in conjunction with Hulu. This year, they'll stream with support from FYC and Apple TV+. In fact, the Apple TV Plus documentary Boys State is set to close out the series in December. 11 films are currently slated to run, about one a week. An RSVP is required for each film individually. The first one, Clive Oppenheimer's Fireball, Visitors from Darker Worlds, streams tonight. You can RSVP for each at the website fortheloveofdocs.deadline.com. Hey, don't forget, no in a few minutes today, but we are back into that tomorrow with thoughts on the thing that happens today. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by SimpliSafe, the right way to protect your home. Get a free HD camera when you order an all-new system at simplisafe.com/macOSken. This show is also sponsored by BetterHelp. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSken. advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. We will talk again tomorrow. Until then, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.